The top tip is not reacting, like we said earlier on the call. There's so many companies which, a month ago they were saying we're never taking office in central London again. I mean, literally a month later, it's like, well, actually, no, we do want an office, and we want to have our own office, and we want to have our own front door. It's very easy for people to react at the moment, and I think what we're seeing on the ground is actually, I'm not trying to overplay this, but there is certainly kind of a lot of room for hope. I was in the office. I went into central London 3 days last week, and I was in doing actual viewings with people. Kind of safe distance viewings. So viewings are happening. Dan closed out a deal yesterday for someone signing for a 3-year lease because they see it's a good time to get a good deal. So I think overall, if you look at the take up for, I don't know, last month, April, or I think, April's figures were down probably about 80% compared to year on year in the whole market, which is to be expected. But actually, we are seeing things beginning to change, and there is an attitude where people really do feel that they need an office, and I think every company is going to be slightly different, but it's not a case of the office market is dead. Far from it.
There's still a competitive advantage to be had by having an office and everybody together. Whether that's creativity or whether that's being near the big corporates who are still holding their space in town and in affiliated industries. But there's also an edge to letting people work from home and have that work-life balance, which a number of studies coming out have shown is a lot more productive than actually having them in the office. What we're seeing as the best course of action is engaging with employees and understanding what they want the next 6 months and the next 24 months to look like. And that's really forming people's workplace and real estate strategies. We've been forced to work from home now. It doesn't work for everybody, works for some. Understand what the employees need, the business needs, and then follow.
As we said earlier on, utilize like the prop tech we have now in the market. Tenants should use this period to take a step back in terms of how they want to occupy their space. Utilize the data that they're being given and start to shape how that might look going forwards. And if that means taking less space and then using more of a hub and spoke model, then so be it. But just use it as a time to reflect, I think, more than anything. And to Harry's point and everyone's point, just don't react to the fact that we can't. Everyone's flapping a bit at the moment,
So Dan, and also for people that aren't familiar with like the hub and spoke model, there is actually some cost benefits in doing that, because a lot of the sort of satellite spaces are potentially in regions, so they're a lot cheaper than potential central London. So there is benefits in doing that, whereas people might see the uptake of lots of satellite offices as increasing their investment.
Absolutely, there's a saving to be had on having a smaller HQ, in terms of a longer term liability space. And even now, moving forwards, whether these 10-year leases now become a 5-year lease with a 3-year break, for example. And then from a spoke point of view, absolutely, Vic, you're more fluid. You can take more space or upsize, downsize as and when you need it. Move into an emerging market, take a short-term flexible contract, from 3 months to 3 years, basically, and have it completely on your terms, with complete cost transparency about what it's costing you per person. So, you can completely future-proof and budget what your business costs look like from a property point of view, as you go forward month to month, pretty much.
It's really a state of real flux, not only the next 6 months, but potentially for the next 2 or 3 years. So what we're saying to tenants is keep that in mind when you're making work and real estate and even organisational decisions. And there's the prop tech and the solutions out there to work around that flexibility and that unknown that we're seeing. And the conversations we're having with landlords is, property is quite antiquated traditionally, compared to a lot of other industries. And those landlords that are akin to people's needs of flexibility and general unknown going forward, if they're aware of those and provision for those, whether that's shorter leases, more flexible terms, provisions in the lease in case of pandemics, whatever it might be. Those proactive landlords and asset holders are going to do all right. Those that remain antiquated are probably going to find it a lot more difficult, because more and more they're pertaining to needs that aren't there. And in actual fact, the needs of businesses going forward are going to be quite the opposite of long leases and large upfront capital investment, really.
And you're saying, Tom and guys, that like those shorter lease options are available. There might be people that are out there thinking that these short-term options are not around, but you're seeing a lot of this availability. You're seeing a lot of the options for them to sign up for these shorter periods of time, and that's not really a problem for you in your space.
Yeah,
exactly. Exactly correct. The short lease isn't an issue. A lot of landlords have been very good already in changing what they're doing. We obviously help a number of them do that. And there's going to be a lot of flexible space, whether that's sublets, assignments, leases, or co-working flexible spaces on the market. So it's about knowing where to look and how to do a deal, really.
I think that's something that we can certainly take away, guys. That's not something that we've actively been telling our guys, our clients at the moment, is that those shorter, a lot of our clients will be talking about 10, 25 years still. So we're sort of dealing with a lot of the traditional market. So I think, in terms of our onward hopeful partnership with you guys, it's something that we can take along to sort of tell people that the old traditional way of working is also not the traditional way of signing leases these days. You can have those negotiations. So
we're lucky that we work with landlords and tenants, and actually the beauty of that is you can see from the other person's perspective. So actually, if Dan's acting for an occupier, he'll chat and he'll say, well, where's your landlord's head at the moment? And the landlord's head is, look at the market voids or stats for that area. So it might say, well, actually the stats say from half a mile of your building, the same size, it's probable that you're gonna take 9 months to let this. Then you've got your agent fees. Then you've got your rent-free periods. Then you've got maybe works you have to do to the space. So all of a sudden, from that tenant, in terms of what that tenant may want to do, if it's a re-gear or if it's a new lease, looking at all those costs, all of a sudden, the offer which they were going to put in may on paper, the landlord might fall off their chair to start with, but then actually when they look at it, they think actually this is actually okay. Or likewise from a landlord's perspective, if I'm speaking to a landlord and they've got a tenant who's asking for more flexibility, I'm saying to the landlord, look, Mr. Landlord, this is what it's going to cost you if they move out. This is the risk factor, and it's about being sensible and really understanding where the other side are coming from. Because actually gone are the days of the landlord basically ruling the roost to say, look, it's my building, Mr. Tenant, you have to basically do what I'm saying here. That is not the way forward anymore. It really is and we've had some landlords, actually a lot of landlords have given rent holidays, in essence, meaning the tenant will still have to pay the rent back, but that's been pushed back a quarter. But I have some clients who've actually said to their tenants, you know what, we're going to let the rents go. If you can pay towards the business rates like you normally do, you can give me a contribution for the building service charge, I will let it go. And actually, on one hand, I was thinking, why is this landlord doing this? And the bigger picture is they don't have debt on their buildings, but actually, those tenants, will stay with them. And actually, when I look at their portfolio, most of those tenants have been in their buildings for 5 and 10 years plus. And it's because of their attitude to actually a longer term relationship. And it's very easy for landlords to be sorry, you have to pay the rent, I've got my responsibilities. But if you are in a position where you haven't necessarily got a lot of debt in the building and you can help your tenants, in the longer term, they will still benefit massively because of that relationship and that tenant seeing when they needed help. But that landlord really went out the way to help them.